And so we started, Mrs. Stevenson, a systematic plan of robbing your father's company. By September of last year, I had banked the sum of $7,500. But then I received a memorandum from the personnel office.
Will you please stop your whining? Didn't you read the memo? You're not fired. They're simply transferring you to the New Jersey plant.
But they must suspect. This is a warning. I'm sure of it. I'm through, Mr. Stevenson.
Look here, you old fool. We've been stooges up till now. Morano's played us for suckers. This is our chance to get rid of him. That transfer of yours is just what I've been looking for.
I don't understand.
Look, I'll tell Morano you've been fired, that the deal's all washed up. Meanwhile, you're back there in New Jersey. We'll operate on our own, and we'll split Morano's share between us.
But I'm just a chemist, Mr. Stevenson. I don't know anything about disposing of drugs.
But I do. I know all about it. Now listen. The Cotterill plant in New Jersey is in Bayonne. And just across the bay from Bayonne is Staten Island. I happen to know a little about Staten Island.
About 6 weeks later, we began operations, Mrs. Stevenson, on Staten Island, New York. Our headquarters was an old abandoned house, 20 Dunstan Terrace. There, twice a week after work, I would come from your father's plant in Bayonne. And there, Mr. Stevenson would telephone me or mail me his instructions from Chicago. A little over 3 months ago, Mr. Stevenson arrived in New York. A few nights later, when I went to 20 Dunstan Terrace, I found that your husband was not alone.
Come right in. We've been waiting for you.
Wally, this is Morano.
Morano?
You didn't expect me, did you, Mr. Evans? Well, neither did Mr. Stevenson. But here I am. You see, I have ways of finding things out. For instance, ever since the two of you broke off our pleasant little association in Chicago, I find you've accumulated a rather large bank account. Am I right?
What about it? I'm warning you right now, Morano. Don't you try any funny business.
Relax, Mr.
I'm warning you.
I said relax. Sure, you're a big, strong guy, Mr. Stevenson, but mussing me up won't get you anywhere. You see, I merely represent an organization. But we had what you might call a board meeting, and the vote was 7-1 against you. Now, that's pretty serious. That's like a death sentence.
Oh, cut it short, Morano. What do you want?
Mr. Stevenson, please give them what they want. Mr. Morano, you can take everything I've got.
Shut up.
Now, if you were to turn back what you've accumulated, Mr. Stevenson, and pay us $200,000 for our injured feelings, I might get the board to reconsider their decision.
You know as well as I do I don't have that kind of money.
But you have such wonderful connections. A millionaire father-in-law, a very rich wife.
Yes, a lot of good that does. Why do you suppose I went into this racket?
But I thought I read somewhere about your wife being sick. Very sick.
What about it?
Well, she has life insurance, hasn't she? Made out in your name. Now, I'm pretty sure the board will give you, say, 90 days to raise the money on something like that.
Why 90 days?
Isn't that what the doctor in Chicago said? She wouldn't get better?
Yes, that's what he said, but... What's that?
Oh, just a little IOU to make it legal, you see. Everything can be straightened out without any trouble, without any rough stuff.
But suppose something happened, and my wife didn't. I mean, if she got better.
I wouldn't worry about that, Mr. Stevenson. You've got a doctor's word for it, haven't you? They know their business. So here, take the pen and sign the piece of paper.
What I have just told you, Mr. Stevenson, took place 3 months ago. I need not describe Mr. Stevenson's distress when the IOU became due last Wednesday. As I understand it, Mr. Stevenson saw Mr. Morano, but his request for an extension was refused. And now, inasmuch as I have already given you the final message, I believe the rest explains itself quite simply.
Mr. Evans, where is my husband? Where is Mr. Stevenson now?
I wish I knew. Perhaps if you tried the Bowery number...
The Bowery number? What Bowery number?
The one I gave you when I first started to talk. Mrs. Stevenson, I'm afraid I must ask you to check it all.
I can't.
I'll repeat it once more. Point 1, the house at 20 Dunstan Terrace was burned down this afternoon. I did it. Point 2, I escaped. Point 3, Mr. Morano has been arrested, so it will not be necessary to raise the money. Point 4, it was not Mr. Morano who told the police.
Just give me the Bowery number, the one for my husband.
Point 5, I am at the Manhattan address now, but I'm leaving. And may be found at Bowery 2-1000.
Bowery 2-1000.
Yes, after midnight. Good night, Mrs. Stevenson. And thank you very much.
Bowery 2-1000. Bowery 2-1000. Oh, Henry. Henry. Oh.
Bowery 2, 1000.
Is this Is Mr. Stevenson there?
Mr. who?
Stevenson, Mr. Henry Stevenson. I was told to call by a Mr. Evans.
Just a minute, I'll see. Stevenson?
Yes, Stevenson.
Hold on. Hello?
Yes?
No, he's not here, ma'am.
Oh, well, Mr. Evans said he might be expected. Could I leave a message?
Message? Now, look, lady, if this is your idea of a joke...
Oh, please help me. What number is this? What am I calling?
Bowery 2, 1000, the city morgue.
Oh! Oh!
Operator?
Police! Give me the police quickly.
I will ring the police department.
No, wait a minute. Give me the hospital. I can't be alone. It's 11 o'clock. Hurry, please. It's 11 o'clock.
One moment, please.
Operator, I can't hear you. Are you calling the hospital? Operator.
Help you.
Is this a hospital?
Yes.
I want the nurse's registry. I want to hire a trained nurse immediately for the night.
I am sorry, but this is a city hospital.
It doesn't matter. I've got to have a nurse.
I understand that, madam.
I'm sick and I'm all alone. All alone in this horrible empty house. I overheard a telephone conversation about a murder. A murder to be committed at 11:15. I don't know what's happened to my husband. If something isn't done, I'm afraid What was that?
What was what, madam?
That clicked just now on my telephone. As though someone had lifted the hook off the extension downstairs.
I did not hear it, madam, and if you will...
Well, I did. There's someone in this house. There's someone downstairs. And they're listening to me now. Who is it? Who's down there? Oh. Hello?
New Haven is calling Mrs. Henry Stevenson. Is she there?
I can't talk now. Call back later.
I have a person-to-person call from Mr. Stevenson. Do you not
Did
wish
you
to
say
accept
Mr.
the call?
Stevenson? Mr. Stevenson from New Haven?
Do you wish to accept the call, madam?
Oh, yes.
One moment, please. Here's your party, sir.
Hello, darling?
Henry, where are you?
Well, I'm on my way to Boston, dear. Stopping off between trains in New Haven. Didn't you get my wire?
Yes, I got it.
I was sorry I couldn't reach you by phone before I left. But, of course, I knew you'd be all right.
Well, I'm not all right. There's someone in this house, Henry. Right now, I'm sure of it.
Now, honey, how could there be? Don't tell me you're still alone.
Well, of course I'm alone. Who else could be here? You promised to be home at 6 o'clock.
I know, Leona, but I thought I explained to the telegram.
I've been alone for hours. I've been afraid of every kind of horrible call. And Henry, I want you to call the police. Do you hear me? Tell them to come over at once.
Now, honey, you know you're perfectly safe. The doors are all locked and there's a private patrolman. You're right in the heart of New York City and the phone's there at your bed. Henry,
what do you know? What do you know about a man named Waldo Evans?
Evans? Why? Why do you ask?
I had a long talk with him just a little while ago about you.
About me? Well, what about me?
Oh, he told me some terrible things. Some of it sounded insane, but some of it, maybe it was true.
You mustn't listen to every crackpot that calls you up, dear. Now just try to forget him.
He said you'd been stealing from Dad's company. Is that true, Henry?
Leona, of course it's not true.
Well, he left some kind of a message for you that the house on Staten Island had been burned down and that the police knew everything and that Morano had been arrested and Henry, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
They said you were a criminal, Henry, a desperate man. And Evans said you wanted me to die.
Leona.
And that money, Henry, that money those people wanted. Why didn't you ask me for it? Why, I'd have given it to you gladly if it would have saved your life. I'll give it to you now if it isn't too late.
That's all right. Forget about it.
I didn't mean to be so awful to you, Henry. I only did it because I loved you, and I thought you didn't love me, and that you'd go away and leave me.
Leona.
Yes?
I want you to do something for me.
Will you forgive me first, Henry, will you?
I want you to try to get out of bed.
Please, Henry, please.
Leona, listen to me.
I
Try
can't.
to get out of bed.
I can't get out of bed.
You've got to. Walk over to the window and start screaming, Leona. Scream out of the street.
I can't move, Henry. I'm too frightened, and
Keep trying. Otherwise, you've only got 3 more minutes time.
Henry!
Don't talk anymore. Just get out of that bed. I confess everything. I did steal from your father, and I was so desperate that I even tried. I arranged
train. I can hear the train. It's near the bridge, and I...
Please, Leona, wait for them to get me. They'll know. They'll find out from Morano.
Oh, no. No, please. Please don't. Oh, please. Please, I'll give you anything. Please, no. No.
Ready with your party, sir.
Leona! No! Leona!
Sorry. Wrong number.
For a thrilling experience in the theater, our thanks go to this evening's stars, Barbara Stanwyck and Burt Lancaster. They're coming downstage now for a curtain call. You know, it's good to have you both back.
And it's nice to be back.
Bill says you got him in bed with the audience, Barbara.
In what way?
Well, we keep getting letters asking why you haven't been here for so long. And we have to keep explaining that you've made one picture right after another with no time off in between.
One thing is sure, Bill. I haven't forgotten the Lux Radio Theater or Lux Soap. It's my favorite complexion care and has been for years.
And that's one of the nicest compliments Lux has ever received.
Barbara, tell me if you can. Isn't she wonderful?
Sure, I sound like
How
Andy
many-
Devine.
She says she sounds like Andy Devine. Tell me, Barbara, how many pictures have you made that still aren't released?
4, Bert.
And what's the first one we'll see?
The Hal Wallace production, Thelma Jordan.
Oh, yes, Wendell Corey's in that, too. You know, when you and Hal Wallace get together on a picture, we know it's going to be a hit. Bert, I hear you are off for New York in a few days.
Yes, I've just finished my own Norma F.R. production of The Hawk and the Arrow at Warner Brothers. And now I'm going to New York to see a few shows and take a brief vacation.
Well, your last vacation you spent out on the road with a circus as an acrobat. Nothing like that this time?
Not unless you have to be an acrobat to get tickets to South Pacific. Bill, tell me, what's next Monday's show?
Next week, Bert, one of America's best-loved characters will return to this stage. The gentleman I'm talking about is Mr. Belvedere. And our play is the 20th Century Fox hit, Mr. Belvedere Goes to College. Naturally, we'll have the original Mr. Belvedere here to play the part, the amazing Clifton Webb. And besides Mr. Webb, we have 2 other stars, Colleen Gray and the popular Robert Stack. A great comedy and the return of Mr. Belvedere all on next Monday night.
Everybody will love it, Bill. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, and thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a great deal of vague and sentimental talk about the American economic system. But here are some cold facts. Since 1910, we have increased the income of each household from $2,400 to about $4,000. And the figures are in dollars of the same purchasing power. We've done it by increased production, and yet we work 18 hours less each week for this extra money. This is the miracle of America. Lever Brothers Company, the makers of Lux Toilet Soap, join me in inviting you to be with us again next Monday evening when the Lux Radio Theater presents Clifton Webb, Robert Stack, and Colleen Gray in Mr. Belvedere Goes to College. This is William Keeley saying good night to you from Hollywood.